bring the meeting to order. Our chairman is across the, I think it's on. Is it on? Can you hear me? Our chairman is in another meeting across the aisle, so I'm going to try to muddle through running this committee. Maybe I can remember how to do this. So, anyway. So, first item of business, bill introductions. This is one committee that I don't have to worry about that in. So, okay. Next, we'll have Valley Hope Foundation, and we'll have the first testimony will be from Representative John Epley. John, welcome to committee.
Oh, it's on now. Thank you, Acting Chair Carpenter and Ranking Ballard, and hope that we get Chairman Mason here soon. It is a real pleasure to be here today, this afternoon, on behalf of Valley Hope Association, the leader in alcohol and drug addiction facilities in the state of Kansas. They do have 5 campuses located throughout the state, and one of which is located in Atchison, one of the largest ones in District 63 in extreme northeast Kansas in Atchison. It is really an honor for me to stand before you today as the leadoff batter or the leadoff person today for our dream team that's here with me, who are going to give you the details of our ask for this committee and why they're here. They really are an outstanding group of individuals, and I'm going to probably desert them and go to another committee hearing that I have upstairs in tax. And, you know, you can consider yourselves lucky to be in this committee because, boy, what we're considering today is not fun. But I hope all of you understand the reason we're here. Kansas has a rapidly accelerating opioid problem. We are now the 2nd highest state in the nation. Only Alaska is higher in opioid deaths per capita in the United States. Committee members, we have to turn this around. I know that Valley Hope has positioned itself as the standard of care for both alcohol and now drugs or opioids in our state. And now we have an opportunity to expand their success, Valley Hope's success, to serve those Kansas patients with these terrible addiction issues. I hope most of you have this or have picked it up. This is their ask brochure, and it explains their campaign. I'm going to introduce Courtney Pear, and Dr. John Siebert, and Susan Crawford, and I think Courtney's going to lead off first, and I'm going to turn it over to them, and they're going to take you through the presentation. So thank you for this opportunity today. I really appreciate it.
Just a minute here, Representative. Are there any questions of the representative from the committee? Representative Ballard.
Very brief. How long have we been number 2?
That is a recent report that came to us in December of this year. It was in a CDC morbidity and mortality report.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Many further questions of Representative Epley? All right. Thank you, John, for being here. I just wanted to razz you a little bit. So anyway.
Thank you, Representative Carpenter. And I'll turn it over to Courtney, who's going to do, I think, the next presentation. Courtney, it's all you.
Thank you.
Courtney, welcome to committee.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Epley, for that wonderful introduction. Leaders in committee, thank you so much for the opportunity to present this information today. Before I get started, I do want to take a moment and introduce the other Valley Hope representatives that we have in the room. So next slide, please. First is Dr. John Siebert. He is our medical director for the organization. Susan Crawford is here to share her personal testimony as a participant in our services. Megan O'Connor, it's hard to turn. Megan O'Connor is the executive director of our foundation. And Patrick Fields, he is our national director of contracting and revenue cycle at the organization. My name is Courtney Pear. I am the executive assistant director of our foundation. I hold credentials as a licensed professional counselor and a licensed master's addiction counselor as well. I began my career in 2009, and I worked for a child welfare agency. And referrals came across my desk for a number of different reasons. But more often than not, the shadow behind the doors of the homes of the families I worked with was the disease of addiction. I've sat with grandparents, parents, siblings, children, and listen to them struggle with this disease. In 2016, I came to work for the Valley Hope Association Foundation, an organization who strives to be the solution for these families who are in need. Next slide. I'll be covering the following topics today, and I'll start with, why are we here? Why are we before you? We are embarking on a $6.8 million expansion and renovation campaign at our Atchison location. This past November, our campaign chair, Senator Roberts, and Governor Kelly visited our facility. At that time, Senator Roberts asked the governor for a gift of $1 million. She's in support of our campaign and the project, but urged us to work with the legislator for financial support. Since then, more conversations have occurred with Senator Roberts and legislators, and we've been encouraged to ask for $2.5 million in appropriations from the state. Next slide. Thank you. Valley Hope was founded in 1967 in Norton, Kansas. Two professionals in our community were seeking to find treatment for a community member in need, and the closest treatment was hundreds of miles away. They took that person to get treatment and thought, why doesn't the state of Kansas have this service? So they started. They started the service in western Kansas, and people were traveling from all over the state of Kansas to receive our care. And soon, those individuals and the communities of Kansas were asking for us to enter their communities and provide help. Today, we're a national organization serving 6 states. We have 6 Kansas locations, and we have 11 locations outside of the state. So we have a total of 17 communities, or 17 facilities. We've treated more than 350,000 patients. Those are individual patients. That's not the family members. That's not the communities that have been impacted by the ripple effect of treatment. Our home office still resides in Norton, Kansas. We have 656 national employees. 263 of those employees reside in Kansas. As a healthcare organization, we are open 24/7, 365 days a year. So there's a lot of folks ensuring that people can get in for care. Next slide. Our mission is to restore lives affected by addiction and support lifelong recovery. We've made a promise to the communities that we serve. We understand the devastating toll addictive substances take on people, their families, and relationships. We're steadfast in our belief and dedicated to the idea that recovery is possible. We care, we believe, and we can help. Our services are provided in a collaborative team approach, so we strive to meet all of the needs of our patients. We have medical providers, clinical providers, and alumni coordinators that provide care to our alumni as they transition out. We employ registered nurses, physicians, and licensed clinicians at all of our locations. Next slide, please. We provide a full continuum of care, meaning patients can enter our doors for detoxification services and move through the treatment process through continuing care and alumni support. We also closely collaborate with the U.S. Department of Affairs to serve veterans. We have family programming to provide services not only to the individual struggling with addiction, but their family members as well. Our alumni program is offered to each patient who enters our doors at no additional cost. Next slide. This graph demonstrates our full continuum of care. Patients are able to enter at the level that is their need. They complete a drug and alcohol assessment and determine what is the best level of care for their services. Some patients will enter at detoxification, some will enter at outpatient services, but they're able to move through this continuum as their needs change. So if a patient enters in outpatient services but needs additional or higher level of care, they're able to transition to a higher level of care. Our services are also Joint Commission accredited. Our 56-year data collection tells us the longer someone remains in treatment, the greater their chance of successful recovery. So now I'll introduce Dr. Siebert. He's going to share with you all a little bit about the people we serve.
Hi, I'd like to thank all of you too for taking time out to let us present this to you. My name is John
Dr.
Siebert.
Will you state your name, please?
Yeah, my name is John Siebert. I'm a family physician and also addiction medicine physician. As mentioned by Courtney, I'm the medical director for Valley Hope, but more near and dear to my heart is I'm also the staff physician at Atchison Valley Hope. So I'm there 6 days a week and on call 24/7.
Very good, thank you.
So, just to tell you a little bit about the patients that we serve, you know, we tend to be kind of there for the working class citizen of Kansas is kind of who we see. We're not a medical spa, you know, we're your neighbors, we're your friends. That's the type of patient that we tend to see. Basically every type of substance use disorder is also seen at our facility. Predominantly alcohol use disorder is still number one, but as mentioned by Dr. Epley, we've got some other drugs coming up behind it pretty close, trying to, you know, kick that off the pedestal. So we do have quite a lot of opioid use disorder patients, and when we say opioids, we mean fentanyl. I mean, there's still the occasional person abusing prescription opioids, but the majority of patients that we see that are using opioids are taking fentanyl, which is probably, I would imagine, entered every county in Kansas by now. Not far behind that is also methamphetamine. We see an awful lot of that in our communities as well. But of those patients, yeah, a significant portion from Kansas, our Atchison location. As you can see up here, we've had about 1,700 people in the last 3 years come through our doors. As mentioned, you know, this is not a disease that only affects one person. It affects families, it affects friends. So for every one of those people, you know, there's multiple people that have been touched by this disease, families, friends. You know, this is someone's son or daughter, someone's spouse, someone's dad, someone's mom. So it's a devastating disease, but we actually are pretty proud of ourselves and really enjoy the treatment that we provide. Can I have the next slide, please? So why are we here? That's probably the big question here. We're doing our job. We think we do it very, very well. I'd love to have more of a visual or a 3D tour for all of you. I don't have that available, but I'll just give you kind of a day in the life. Overcrowded and noisy. You know, I walk in the door to see patients. The first room that I walk into is a big living room, very noisy. There's a pool table, there's a TV. There might be a game on, you know, just quite a bit of noise going on out there, and that is parked right next to the nursing station. So kind of a lot like we have this little separation between yourselves and me. That's about what that looks like, the difference between, you know, the patients and you. Behind you then is where there are people that are withdrawing. We have our detox area back there with 16 beds. It's kind of a perfect funnel of noise. So if there's a game on or something like that, or someone just having a good time, an awful lot of noise comes back. If you can try to picture yourselves withdrawing from drugs, basically take the worst illness you've ever had and multiply it by 100, and you'd like to have some quiet space where you can relax and recover. We do our best. Again, like I say, I think we do a good job, but it's noisy, it's crowded, and it could definitely be better, and that's what we're looking to do. Walk through the nurses station, you're into my combination office exam room that's also used as a storage room, that's also used by the nurses for supplies, that while I'm talking to you as a patient, a nurse may knock on the door, have to pop in and out. I pride myself on doing a good job and you know, making sure that patient confidentiality is always of the utmost importance. With all of that happening, that can be a very, very difficult thing. Same thing, just on the other side of the door, the nurses, they're trying to do their assessments, they're trying to pass medications, but we've got a living room of people, you know, between sessions that may be out there, and it turns into a lot of, hey, come over here so I can whisper in your ear type of stuff. So again, I feel we do a very, very good job, but it could be much easier, it could be done much better. As far as, you know, the other spaces within the building, if you, well, and people did, I say, if you would ask me what would I like for Atchison Valley Hope, for the last 20 years that I've worked there, my answer has been a gym. People in recovery need to kind of create their own recipe for what works with them. You know, it's 12-step meetings are obviously a big part of it for a lot of people, but there's other things too. Exercise and taking care of your body, good nutrition, spirituality, also another big one. So we, unfortunately, you know, with our chapel that we have, which is, again, optional, but spirituality is a big part of recovery for a lot of people. Our chapel also serves double duty. It gets used as a meeting room, and all sorts of other things. Nurses have to have their morning meetings in our chapel. This new building that we've been able to acquire after a model, you know, I just can't wait. It'll be wonderful to be able to send the patients over there after they're done with withdrawal management, let them be able to work out, get their bodies in shape, get those endorphins flowing again, all the stuff that we need to do to take care of ourselves. You know, I'm trying to give you every detail of every space problem we have, but, you know, even the poor nurses, they want to take a break and get something to eat. They're either going to sit at their desk and have patients ask them 100 questions while they try to take another bite, or they'll go over into the business office and interrupt somebody there and try to eat something there. The counselor's office, you know, these guys end up basically sharing space. It might have one use in the morning, another use in the afternoon. So again, we are very proud of what we do. I think we do a very good job, but if we just had a little bit more space to do it, it would make an enormous difference. So with that, I'd like to introduce our next speaker, unless anyone had any questions to ask now.
Many questions? Representative Obama.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. Thank you, Doctor, for your testimony today. I want to, you know, go back to what you said in regards to patient confidentiality, privacy. It's crowded in there. How are you guys managing that? I mean, of course, you know, you don't want medical records to, you know, be exposed. But how are you guys managing? That's my question. I mean, what's
Hard. You know, it is, like I say, so I'm tucked on the other side of a door. And so I have the door closed. You know, they'll knock at the door comes open, I get to stop my question and answer that I'm doing with a patient, which these aren't easy conversations. You know, it took an enormous amount of effort for someone to come to us, all the emotions that they're feeling. They might be in the middle of, you know, really telling me a story that they haven't told anyone else before in their lives. And I have to say, hey, hold on a second. We got to let the nurse come in here and get something. So, you know, that's not an uncommon occurrence. With the nurses, again, it's a lot of kind of covering your mouth and saying, can you come over here for a second type of things. And to be real honest, I'm sure things probably do get overheard. You know, it's happened. You do the best you can. So, but confidentiality, again, we do everything we can for that, but it's still a matter of, with the space available and multiple patients mulling about, you kind of have to pull people aside, maybe tuck around the corner, that sort of thing, to have a significant conversation about medical issues.
And I don't know if you're going to talk about it, but what about patient safety as well? You know, with all the people coming in, how are you guys addressing that? If you know, you talk about overcrowdedness and all of that, what are you guys doing, or what do you guys plan to do, I should say?
With safety as far as violence? Safety as far as,
yeah.
Okay, yeah. You know, it's amazingly enough, before I started working at Valley Hope, I would have thought the same thing. As far as us really having any significant, I mean, I can remember a handful of fights amongst patients in the 20 years that I've been there, but for the most part, by the time people come in, you know, it's such a welcoming atmosphere. I've had patients give me the comment of, you know, John, I've been to 2 other treatment centers. I walked in here, I felt like I was walking in your living room, you know, that sort of thing. So for whatever reason, you know, even when people are coming down off of alcohol or coming down off of meth, opioids, whatever, they feel safe, you know, and so we haven't had much of a problem with that, thank God. You know, there's always at least, you know, a nurse and a couple of other people working. We've got our maintenance crew, who are some pretty big guys, and then we have what are called patient care aides, PCAs, And some of them are always mulling about kind of part of the patient population, getting a sense of what's going on with them too. So, but amazingly enough, it's been pretty safe. We do have to call the police occasionally, and they respond rapidly.
Representative Clifford.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. Two questions. This committee is very diligent about trying to improve access for current Medicaid patients. I'd like to know if you currently take Medicaid patients, or is there any plan with this renovation expansion to take Medicaid?
We actually had someone who was going to address that. Did you want to step up and answer that for me, or okay. Or save that to the end? Is that your preference?
I'm very patient. I'll wait. I know I'm familiar with the Norton facility.
I'm more of a, apologize, I'm a care provider. I don't collect the money, so I don't do the billing or decide.
I'm a physician as well, I understand.
Yeah.
And I am familiar with Norton. I live in western Kansas. And I know there's limited access in Kansas to these services, but what other organizations do this with which you're familiar? Or can someone else answer that question?
Well, maybe better as well. Competitors that you guys can, okay.
Well, I'll defer.
I apologize for being the worst person to answer your questions, but we'll get somebody, so thanks. So anyway, I'd like to introduce Susan Crawford, who is a patient that I met once, and I'd just like to let her tell her testimony. Thanks.
Very good. Could you state your name for the record?
Yes, my name is Susan Crawford. Thank you. Yes, good afternoon. It's a privilege to speak to you today. Again, my name is Susan Crawford, and I am an alcoholic. I have 3,277 days sober today. And that I present to you as an example of the unwavering care and dedication of Valley Hope of Atchison and its staff. 9.5 years ago, I was a patient at Valley Hope Atchison. The 28 days I spent there literally changed my life. Most patients, myself included, were at our absolute rock bottom, and Valley Hope gave us a way out. At the time, every inch of space was allocated for use. Many areas were overlapping and overcrowded, but despite the cramped quarters, the staff made sure each patient was given excellent and immediate care. I vividly remember sitting in a tiny area, waiting for admission. I remember trying to fill out forms, trying to ignore the voices of staff members and patients right outside the door. I remember trying to sleep on a detox bed, just feet away from another patient moaning because they were going through withdrawal. Someone crying because they were so scared. Another person just hyperventilating from a panic attack. I remember desperately needing to sleep, but not being able to do so because of the noise. One late evening, a patient was brought in by her husband. She was absolutely hysterical. We heard it all. The after-hours intake was just feet from the living room, as Dr. John said, where we were sitting. And it felt like we were eavesdropping on her. It should have been such a private moment for her, but it was just terribly unsettling. Rehab is overwhelming. Everything you know is changing. It's being rewritten, it's being reworked, it's being relearned, and it's quick and it's constant. The noise, both internal and external, is nonstop. Getting a break from that noise, having the space and quiet to process and reset is not a luxury. It's an absolute necessity for recovery and for healing. Early on, I discovered a solitary spot outside on the back steps. I'd sit and I'd feed the birds, and I would relish the quiet and just breathe the air. That space allowed me to process what was happening, to absorb what I was learning, and to reset for that new day. Valley Hope taught me how to navigate my recovery and how to do it successfully. They did so by utilizing every single resource they had available and finding space where there didn't seem to be any space left. They have been with me every step of the way, and they literally gave me my life back. Thank you, and if you have questions for me, I'd happily take them now.
Any questions for the conferee? Representative Barth.
Thank you, Chairman Mason. And I forget your name, I apologize.
Susan.
Susan. So first of all, thank you for sharing your testimony and congratulations on your sobriety as well. I have a special family member who is celebrating their 7th birthday for their anniversary as well. So definitely near and dear to my heart as well. They have not done anything as intense as what you've done. So, and not having that type of experience, I'm wondering, you know, with you being an alcoholic, how scary was it to even engage or get to the facility or to, you know, were there other things that might have held you back from going? Was there a fear of, well, gosh, what's this going to cost me? Like, can you give a little bit of update on that? Because I think for a lot of us, that just how do you get to there in the first place is a little, it's hard to understand. You talk about the crowding and everything, but
Yes.
you can kind of give us a better picture of that. That'd be helpful. Thank you.
Of course. I knew I was sick. Many people who are in the depths of addiction, we know we're sick, but part of the addiction itself is it lies to you, and it's like, no, you'll be okay. You can figure this out. I have a sister who we affectionately refer to as a bulldog, and she could tell there was something terribly wrong with me, and I was terribly sick. My sister did not give up. She enlisted the help of my parents. I was very fortunate. My parents volunteered to pay for my treatment on the condition I agreed to go. So I didn't have an out. And at the time, I was very angry about that. Again, the disease of addiction, that's what it does. Now, that was the greatest gift I could ever imagine receiving. As to your question about what it was like going to recovery, going to Valley Hope, I was terrified. I was absolutely terrified. Words can't put it. I can't express to you what it was like. It's completely unknown. Everything you think you know, you're being uprooted from it all. And you think, again, because addiction, the disease of addiction says, I love you, I'm here for you, you'll be lost without me. All you know is, I can't do that anymore. So what's next? It's terrifying, but Valley Hope, in particular, made it so safe for me. As soon as I got there, I was still scared for the first couple days, but I knew quickly it was a safe space, that I could say anything. I didn't have to hide. I didn't have to lie. I didn't have to fake it, that I would be accepted regardless, because that's what they're there for. That's what they do. So I hope that answers your question. Mm-hmm.
Committee, other questions? Seeing none.
Okay.
Are there other members from the organization who will be speaking today? Okay.
Okay. I think Dr. John and Susan painted a pretty clear picture of the overcrowding and issues that we're experiencing at our Atchison location. So there was a question earlier, what are you going to do? How are you going to fix this? So we have launched a campaign and a renovation project to address these issues. It's a $6.8 million project and will occur in 2 phases. Phase 1 is $5.3 million, and it's a renovation of a building adjacent to the facility that we will be renovating. Phase 2 is $1.45 million, and that's renovations to our current facility to address these issues. So the benefits of this expansion, we will increase the recreation area. We will create dedicated art therapy space, expand our group counseling and individual counseling areas. We'll create a private and quiet admissions area. We'll expand the detoxification center and the medical area, increasing patients' comfort and their privacy. Next slide, please. This is a photo of our current facility. The building on the bottom left is our current wing where patient bedrooms are, the living center that they described, admissions, detoxification area, bottom left, that's the current facility. Bottom right, this is the newly acquired building. It's in desperate need of renovation, and that will have a half-court size indoor gym. It will have a special clinical care center where patients will go to this building to spend the day for their treatment. They won't be wandering all different areas of the facility to receive their care. All care will occur in this building and will also include a living center as well. And the current building, bottom left, the second phase of the campaign, second phase of the renovation, will be creating an expanded detoxification area, adding 3 additional beds, and expanding the nursing stations. We'll also put a bridge between the two to assist with getting back and forth. Next slide. So with all campaigns, we have to have accountability to show that we are improving our services. These are the 5 areas that we have identified: increasing our patient satisfaction. I think we might be a slide ahead. There we go. Increasing our patient satisfaction, improving our patient length of stay in treatment, increasing our staff retention, improving our safety scores, adding 3 detoxification beds and 28,000 square feet in the newly acquired building. We utilize Press Ganey to assist with our patient and staff satisfaction. It's the most widely used outpatient and healthcare satisfaction survey. We utilize this to complete patient satisfaction surveys at discharge, and it helps us to identify our areas of needs and strengths to improve our services. So despite all of the issues that we've identified today, the Atchison location overall, in all of the organizations that utilize this service, we're in the 86th percentile. Patients are 96% likely to refer our services to a loved one or a person seeking treatment. We're in the 92nd percentile in terms of referrals. In other words, Atchison patients rate us higher than 9 out of 10 treatment organizations, despite these deficiencies we've identified. Next slide. This project will be funded completely on donations. The charitable arm, the foundation, we will be securing all of the funding. The goal, as I've mentioned, is $6.8 million, and we're seeking support from government, foundations, businesses, and individuals. We began this campaign in August 2023, and to date, we've secured $2 million from the private sector. That's individuals, families, private foundations. Next slide. So this wraps everything up together as we've discussed today. Goal of 6.8, we've secured 2 million. We're seeking state and federal partnerships for 2.5 million. 4.5 million, sorry. In November 23, as I mentioned, Governor Kelly toured the Atchison facility and indicated a willingness to work with legislature in support of the campaign. This is our first request in our 56-year history. Next slide. Because this is a lofty goal, we have engaged a 15-member volunteer steering committee. These individuals are providing referrals and assisting us in securing donations. On this slide, we outline our volunteer leadership. Senator Pat Roberts is an honorary chair. Karen Seberg and Rick Berger are also honorary co-chairs for this campaign. Some examples, our steering committee members are made up of individuals in and around the Atchison area. A few of our members are Steve Minnis, the president of Benedictine College, and Representative John Epley. Next slide. Thank you again for this opportunity to present our project to this committee. This project is more than just bricks and mortars. It's about the lives impacted at our facility today, tomorrow, and for many years in the future. It's their lives and their families' lives. We are changing the lives of Kansans and our communities. We would also like to offer you all the opportunity to tour our facility as you consider this investment in Valley Hope and its mission. So at this time, we'll open it up for additional Q&A, and I do have team members behind me, all of our experts, so I will be referring to them for help as questions come forward.
Okay, thank you.
Of course.
And I walked in late. Are you Courtney?
I am Courtney.
Okay, very good.
Yeah, no
All right,
problem.
questions for Courtney? And
Medicaid.
Mr. Chairman, earlier I yielded my time in my questions, but I'll be ready for questions anytime.
I'll put you in the queue.
Thank you, sir.
All right, we'll start with Representative Hobson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you. Thank you for your testimony. I want to go back to your testimony with respect to the public-private partnership. You actually indicated here with respect to state and federal partnership. Do you have any partnership with the local level as well? Are you guys seeking any partnership with them as well on the local level?
It's a great question. We are opening those doors and beginning conversations. Megan, do you have any additional information on local?
Do you want me to come up there?
That's fine. That's fine.
Okay.
Yes.
This is a big project, so we have a lot of people working on it.
Yeah. So as Courtney mentioned, my name is Megan O'Connor. I'm the executive director of the foundation. I'm also an alumni of Norton Valley Hope with 22 years in June. The question about the local help, we have a robust alumni program, but we don't approach our alumni until they're 2 years discharged. We don't want to take advantage of their gratitude. We want them to get on their feet, and we want them to pay it forward after 2 years. So we do, most of our donors, our individual donors are alumni or family members. We also have a robust grant department, and that's what Courtney leads. So she and her team are researching and prospecting for grant funding from private and public foundations.
So my question is, what about the county level or municipality levels? Do you any partnership per se, or have you guys approached them by chance, or is it a plans to do that?
We have approached the County of Atchison. We actually received some funds from the County of Atchison through the ARPA funding. And we are in partnership with them and looking for any kind of stream that would help with this project, yes. Okay. County of Atchison is what you're referring to.
That's what I'm saying, local,
yes.
On the local
yes.
level.
Yes.
'Cause I see here you have federal, state. I don't know if you guys are forgetting the local side.
No, we're on it. Thank you for asking the question. I'm sorry it took me a while to get there.
Fine. My last question is, going back to your expansion goals, you did actually indicate here increased staff retention. What is the retention like right now? Do you guys have a high turnover, or what's going on there?
Current retention rate?
Yes.
Do we have that data?
You guys have a high turnover? You said increased staff retention.
We have a high level of staff satisfaction. The last patient staff survey that was completed, it was a 99% satisfaction rate for our staff. But like most healthcare organizations, we do experience turnover, and the crowded area does come into play with that. Staff don't have a break room, a designated space to have that piece. And I'm sorry, I don't believe we have that data with us today, but that is data that we can get you, the retention rate.
When all this is all done, if all this is all done per se, do you guys plan to increase your staff with all the renovations and expansion projects? Do you guys plan to increase your staff load?
We do. There will be an increase in staff. Do we have the specific numbers? 5 additional staff members. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Representative Clifford, are you ready?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you. Sorry, it's a committee joke.
An inside joke.
Sorry.
I get it.
Would you like to, I'll restate my question.
Sure.
We worked hard here to enhance care for current Medicaid recipients, and I wonder if you currently take Medicaid patients, or is there any plan with the renovation to take Medicaid patients? And then I have a second follow-up.
Okay, great question. I'll have help coming forward. As he's coming forward, the Atchison facility currently does not accept Medicaid patients. However, our Norton location and our Moundridge location do accept Medicaid. And he'll speak to what that looks like post renovation. Patrick Fields.
Hi, I'm Patrick Fields. I've been listening, and you could repeat the question. I know you asked, are we taking Medicaid patients? Is that the
I
question?
got an answer to that, which is no, but with the renovation, if the state were to partner in this, I think we would have an expectation that Medicaid patients would be accepted. And
Well,
is that part of the plan?
you know, we're willing to talk about that and have a discussion. One of the things you guys have heard is that it's very crowded in Atchison. Have y'all gotten that impression today? You have, right? That's because we have an abundance of commercial insurance patients that come to us at Atchison and people that privately pay as well. And to be honest, the state Medicaid rate is I don't know if, do you guys know what the residential treatment Medicaid rate is in the state of Kansas? It's about $200. I think it's $205 per patient per day. And it cost us, this recording, but being transparent, about $450, $475 per patient per day to treat them. The detox ones cost more. Some of the outpatient are less, but for the inpatient facility, that's about what it costs. So we're losing about $225 per Medicaid patient per each day we treat them. If it weren't for Megan's foundation, we couldn't afford to do this at our Norton and Moundridge location. We have to do a lot of fundraising to justify taking Medicaid. Now, that's a whole different topic, but we are willing to do something to do this. We're even willing to reserve beds. If you want a designated reserve bed that'll always have a space for a Medicaid patient, we're willing to do that for $1 million for 3 years. That's fair. We'll do for two beds dedicated. Anytime Medicaid comes, we'll let them have a bed. For 2 of those, we'll do it for $2 million. We'll give you 3 beds for $2.5 million. 3 years. That's a good deal.
I respond, yeah, we don't need to barter here.
Okay.
So someone is taking care, and maybe someone else would answer, who is taking Medicaid patients? Are there other organizations doing what you do who take Medicaid patients that you're aware of?
Is it okay if Megan comes back up?
Quite welcome.
Thanks for the question. We have a pretty sufficient list of treatment providers in Kansas. There is no one on that list that does everything that Valley Hope does. The ones that come closest are Sunflower and I want to say Arista. Mirrors takes Medicaid beds. Mirrors also has $14 million a year in state and federal funds coming in their door. So there's state and federal funding that is supplementing those Medicaid beds at Mirrors. So that's a difference between, it's not a sustainable business model for Valley Hope. And as mentioned before, we've never asked for funding from the state. This would be our first request. And that's, and we have empty beds in Norton and we have empty beds in Moundridge. We can take Medicaid beds. Valley Hope wants to help Medicaid people. But if we have commercial payers and self-payers filling beds in Atchison, that's supporting us to support the other facilities with the Medicaid beds. I hope that makes sense.
Yes, thank you for your answer. Thank
Sure.
you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Representative Carpenter.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So back to the bartering, I'll bite. So you're wanting $6.8 million. How much are you wanting from the state?
Ideally, it would be a third, and a third. A third from private sector, a third from state, a third from federal.
Okay.
But we've been in conversations have occurred between not Governor Kelly, Senator Roberts and legislation encouraging the request of 2.5.
So in the spirit of bargaining,
Sure.
What are we going to get for our $2.5 million?
We did have a conversation with leadership in terms of ensuring that we are providing treatment to Medicaid patients as well at this location. We're able to provide 3 beds for 3 years post-renovation, and then a reevaluation at that point for Medicaid.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Representative Reeves.
Does Valley Hope participate under RADAC, the Regional Assessment Center that can do the assessments for those with no insurance or they have Medicaid? And you were speaking about some of the funding that MERS gets. So all that state supplements that through RADAC, and then RADAC then assesses the individual, and then the individual they suggest which facility they can go to, Sunflower, Mirror, and there's other facilities. Is Valley Hope part of that?
Of the RADAC?
Yeah, of that agreement with RADAC.
It's a great question. Dr. Siebert, are you familiar with that? Okay. Not to our knowledge, but it's something we can gather additional information on for sure.
All right, thank you.
Representative Ballard.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Okay, I see the figures. How many do you have right now in residence?
How many beds? 72
You
at
have 70
Atchison.
You say 72 beds. And what's your census?
The census fluctuates between about 64 to 68. And that's a daily census, so people coming in, people leaving.
So that's your resident. And what's the number for your outpatients?
How many people are in outpatient treatment at Overland Park? 50? We average around 50 patients at Overland Park.
How many detox beds?
How many detox beds? Currently, we have 16 detox beds, so we'll increase to 19 post-renovation.
Think about
Yep.
Okay. Now, in the middle of this is individual services. Am I correct? That's what I heard from Susan, pretty much individually. But do you also have groups?
Yes. Yes. We do individual groups, individual sessions, small group sessions, and then we do large educational lectures as well.
And how difficult is it when someone wants services? How much paperwork? How do you decide how you're going to accept them?
It's a great question. Unfortunately, there is a lot of paperwork associated, releases of information, all necessary paperwork. We do have a dedicated admissions team that works closely. They're based in each facility, so they're familiar with the payees and the rates for that facility to ensure that they're not entering treatment and their insurance doesn't provide care or they're not able to afford the cost of treatment. So those are all completed pre-screening before they come into care.
My last question would be, do you involve family as well as the individual? Because there's one part you do with them, but do you do family to make sure they all understand what's going on?
Yeah, wonderful question. Yes, family is involved. We have a structured family programming where they're able to work together with the individual in care.
Okay. Thank you.
Committee, further questions? Seeing none, I want to thank you and your colleagues for being here for this presentation.
Thank you.
And we will keep you posted as to when the hearings are for that specific committee, for the budget hearings and public input, and that is when you should make your appeal and your ask to that.
Perfect.
To the budget committee for a specific amount.
Okay. Thank you very much.
And we will communicate that with you.
Great.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Committee, I apologize for being late. I was involved in a conference committee, and I wish I had heard the entire presentation. I also have another apology to make, and that is I failed yesterday to fully explain why we were doing what we were doing on those three budgets and voting them on the same day. That is not the normal practice. The reason we needed to do that is because Representative Ballard and I have to report those three budgets out tomorrow for the full Appropriations Committee, and therefore they were on the fast track. None of the other budgets that we examine will be on the fast track. We chose those because they were kind of small and there was not much change requested, so that's why we did what we did. But going forward, we will have a full day for hearing, and if it's a large budget, we'll also have a full day for public input, and then we'll have a full day for recommendations going forward. So if there's nothing else, we will be adjourned. Thank you.